Hi everyone, it's Shea. Welcome to or back to my channel. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, I have been studying Italian for about 2 years now and my native language is English. So today I thought I would have you guys follow along as I plan out my goals for the rest of the year with studying Italian. If you have been following me for a while, you do know that I have this goal of going back to Italy and studying there for a while. So next year is the year. I've been looking at programs and I will have an announcement soon once I finalize everything. The goal right now is going to Italy in the spring of 2022. So before then, I just want to make sure that my Italian is at a good level. So I'm going to be doing all my planning in Notion, which is a program that I use for basically everything that I plan about my life, my to-do list, my study plan, even planning videos and workout trackers, stuff like that. I use Notion for everything. If you've never used it before and you need a little run through, I do have a video where I planned out all of my 2021 goals so you can get a better sense of how it works and all the different things you can do with Notion. So be sure to check that video out as well. So I have a template set up to plan out the rest of my Italian studying for the rest of the year, so just November and December. And I'll share my screen, so we'll hop on over into Notion and I will be showing you what I'm doing to plan it out and also just give you guys an idea of where I hope to be with my Italian by the end of the year. If you're interested in doing something like this as well for your language learning, I can also make this a template that you can all use as well, and I'll put it in the description down below. So without further ado, let's head on over into Notion so I can show you my plan. So this is what it looks like. This is the template that I created for planning out my goals. And we have a few different sections here that we will go over. First off, I have this little quote here from the filmmaker Fellini, and it says, "A different language is a different vision of life." So that's just like a nice little motivational quote. When I thought about the goals that I wanted to make for the rest of the year, I think one of my biggest problems is that I always try to make way too many goals and too many big goals. And considering the fact that there's just 2 months left in the year, I didn't want to have this long list of all these goals that I wanted, and instead I wanted to choose 2 big goals and then come up with a bunch of little activities and milestones that I could do to actually achieve those goals by the end of the year. So that would be my first tip to you, is just make sure that you are setting goals that are attainable, but also just being realistic. I know I've talked about this before, but it's really important. My advice is to just choose a few really big goals and stop trying to make so many goals for yourself, because it can be really frustrating when you don't meet them by your deadlines. So I'm focusing on 2 goals, and then I will break it down further and further by milestones and benchmarks, when I want to reach certain activities that will help me get to this goal, so I can be more specific on how to achieve those goals instead of having this huge list of all these goals and no plan to actually get there. So you can see in the different sections that I have my top goals, weekly activities, weekly study goals, progress tracker, and a timeline. So this is just how I set it up. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and add my main goals here. And I think I'm just gonna do 2 goals, as I said. So my first goal is I wanna finish the book that I've been reading basically this whole year that I have not finished. It's this book, which I mentioned in a few of my videos, and I love it, but it's definitely been taking me a while to get through it because I can't read it at the speed at which I read a normal English book. So my first goal is to finish this book, and I feel like that's a really good goal because it's a very tangible way of feeling like I've achieved something and not just saying like, oh, I want to speak better. I will finish a book and it will be a goal completed that I'll be very, very proud of. So this is the first goal. Then my second goal is related to speaking, because speaking is my weakest part of my language learning. I feel like my comprehension is a lot further along than my speaking. So I thought, okay, how can I make a more tangible goal that's not just speak better? And what I decided to do was, by the end of the year, I want to be able to have an italki tutoring session, which would be 45 minutes, where I'm comfortably talking about myself or my day, or just having a conversation with my tutor for 45 minutes with minimal mistakes and not having to ask her for so many words and not pausing so much, not questioning myself. I want to be able to speak confidently, use all the different verb tenses and the vocabulary that I've learned. So I feel like that's a good way to mark progress. So that's going to be my second goal. So now that we have our 2 main goals, we're gonna break them down further to figure out what exercises and studying I need to do every day or every week to be able to actually achieve these goals. So you can see here I added in some weekly activities. So first, another big goal, but still smaller, is having at least one italki tutoring session per week. And I used to be really good about that, but once I moved and that whole process for a while of finding somewhere to move, I was going through a lot. During that time, I totally did not do italki tutoring anymore. So a goal of mine starting in November, which is next week, is to start doing italki tutoring sessions again, picking it back up with the tutor that I really liked. And then the next big weekly goal is reading 3 chapters of my book per week. The chapters are pretty short, and I figured it out. There's about 22 chapters left. According to the amount of weeks left in the year until the end of the year, I have to read, it said about 2.5 chapters per week. Some weeks I can do 2 or 3 or just however, but it has to average around there. That will be my goal, and I can split it up however I want. Then what I want to do is come over to my timeline. So what are some milestones that I can make, that I can work towards, that will help me also take steps towards my bigger goal? So first off, halfway through November, I had the idea that for speaking, I would film a YouTube video that is fully in Italian. I know I've done those on my channel before, but I did those last year. I actually did those last year around this time, but that was also a time where I was studying a lot more consistently. So I want to try to get back into that. I feel like I wasn't able to fully articulate everything that I wanted to in my videos. So hopefully this video that I would film by midway through November, I'd be able to speak a lot more Italian in the video and speak just more confidently. By the end of November, speaking wise, I would love to be able to do an italki tutoring session where for about half of it I can speak and have minimal mistakes and feel comfortable speaking. I also can do things on my own where I just talk and tell a story for 15 minutes and see how I feel about that. That will be a good indicator of progress towards that 45-minute speaking goal. Then halfway through December, what I want to do is feel comfortable using the future and imperfect tenses, speaking and writing. For me, those tenses are still really hard for me to get from my memory when I am speaking, and I have to do that thing where I feel like I'm conjugating them in my head. That's another milestone that I want to be at by midway through December, so I can start incorporating more of those tenses in my speech and feel comfortable actually using them. And these things I can do with speaking partners on Tandem and also with my italki tutor. Then finally, by the end of December, that goal is to have the 45-minute italki tutoring session with minimal mistakes and feeling comfortable speaking. Then I will add finishing the book by December 31st. I will break down my reading goals a little bit more, but for the most part, for the reading, I really just have to make sure that I'm reading 2 to 3 chapters per week to be able to meet that goal. So I don't necessarily need to mark that down when I already know in the back of my head that's the overall goal, to be able to finish the book by the end of the year. So once you've mapped that out, I have weekly study goals to break it down even more. So if I went in here and let's say I wanted to really map out everything I wanted to do every day, I could go ahead and put that in here and say, like, read a chapter of practice telling a story for 5 minutes. So you can see that I can break it down. If you're someone who wants to have their studying sessions planned out every single day, you could break it down like this. You know, if you just want to go more with the flow and see how you're feeling every day, that's fine too. Then another really important thing, which I feel like I do not do enough of, is actually tracking my progress. Because I don't know about you, but with language learning, it's very easy to feel like you're not making any progress, and it's really easy to get frustrated feeling like I can't speak any more than I used to be able to, or I feel like I don't even know any new words. I think it's really important to keep track of what you've done, and also maybe just keep a little journal of how you're feeling, how you feel like you've improved. So I included this little progress tracker here, and what I wanted to do is put the date in here, maybe do a quick overview of the types of exercises I did that day. So as I mentioned, you want to have a good mix of reading, speaking, writing, and listening. Those options, you can do a little drop down. So, you know, depending on the day, I could say, oh, I did writing and reading this day, whatever. So I have that as options, and then I would put the date. This may be something I just do at the end of every week. I'll leave it open for now to see how I feel. And then I wanted to leave this section for notes. So maybe I could write, I really struggled with conjugating in the future tense today when I was telling my story. Or I felt really good because I was able to quickly recall the future tense. Or I felt like I used a lot of new vocabulary words in the stories that I was telling. Or maybe I can reflect on my tutoring session that day. Having this and having a place where I can have it all written down and I can refer back to it will be really helpful, so I can finally feel like I'm making progress and actually see that I'm making progress. Then what I have down here is I have a few studygrams that I follow on Instagram that I really like and I highly recommend. For me, sometimes when I really struggle with having the motivation to study, sometimes honestly just looking through people's feeds who make study photos or study motivation actually really helps me, because they're just so beautiful and aesthetic, and I'm like, ooh, I want to just like grab some coffee and read my book. So it really does help me. So I just kind of had this little section for some studygrams that I really like. So I think just having a reference of people who inspire you and have really great study motivation can actually help you a lot, at least it does for me. So I'd recommend having some sort of inspiration. This could be like a Pinterest board or just a collection of some photos that really keep you motivated. It could be pictures of the country that you want to travel to. Ignites that spark of wanting to study, because I just see how beautiful these pictures are and I'm like, oh my god, I want to be like them, just studying and having this like look so picture perfect. Any little section that can help keep you motivated, I recommend adding that in. So that is a quick overview of my plan, and like I said, if you want this template, I can link it down below. Just let me know, and that way you can get started on planning your own language goals. I hope you enjoyed that little peek into my Notion planning for my Italian. As we saw, basically my Italian goals are I want to be able to speak a lot more comfortably and feel like I can express myself better in the language. I have a more tangible goal of actually finishing my first book that I've ever read in Italian by the end of this year. So I think those will put me in a good place for where I want to be with my Italian, so that way next year when I'm studying in Italy, I feel like I have a solid foundation before I actually really challenge myself and get to that next level actually in Italy. So let me know if you enjoyed this style of video. I would love to keep you updated on where I'm at, and by the end of the year I will do a video to check in with you guys and see if I reach those goals. Hopefully I do. And I hope all of your language learning is going well, and I will see you all again very soon in my next video. Bye!